Today on the menu, I am making a delicious bourbon chicken. I call these my almost meals in a jar because it's not an entire meal in a jar. All you have is basically your meat in a jar in a sauce, but it's an almost meal because all you need to add into it is a side. I love having these on hand for those days when I'm in a rush or I just don't know what to make for supper, or it could be for emergency preparedness. You have no power, you just have a little heat source to heat something up. So I love having these meals in a jar. You always have something in a pinch. One fact I didn't know, I don't know if you're aware, maybe the entire world is aware of this. I wasn't aware. I was in the liquor store wanting to buy some bourbon yesterday. And anyway, so come to find out, bourbon is always whiskey, but whiskey is not always bourbon. To be considered bourbon, it has to be, first of all, manufactured in the United States. It has to be made of 51% corn, and it has to be aged in a new American white charred barrel and at least 80 proof. So there you go, a little lesson on the difference between whiskey and bourbon. So it's not difficult to make it all, this bourbon chicken. All it is some cut up chicken and measuring out a few ingredients. No prep work at all, no chopping, no cutting, nothing at all. So it's really simple. I'm going to start by assembling the sauce. So to a dish, or it can be a saucepan, I'm going to mix all my ingredients except for the chicken. So let's throw that together. I'll have all the ingredients listed out in the description below. And if I didn't mention it yet, we will be pressure canning this. So this is going to be stored nicely into our cabinets for future use. To make the sauce, you're going to add half a cup of apple juice, 2/3 of a cup of soy sauce, preferably low sodium, 1/3 of a cup of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 cup of chicken stock, the star ingredient, a 1/4 cup of bourbon, half a cup of packed brown sugar, a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, some ginger, and then 1 teaspoon of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of garlic. You want to make sure to whisk all that together well. Give this a good stir. And I'm just going to give this sauce a taste. Oh yeah, very tasty, very tasty. Okay, we're good to go. So now the next step, you want to make sure that you have your chicken cut up into bite-sized pieces, just nice small pieces. I have a mixture of chicken thighs and chicken breasts, but you can do all of one, all of the other, so you can mix it up as you prefer. I just used what I had on hand. So now what we need to do is to brown the chicken. So we're going to go over to the stove and get our chicken on the stove to brown. So I turn the heat on my pan, and you just want to add enough oil so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. When you're canning food, meats, things like that, you want to have the least amount of fats, oils in as possible. So just enough so it doesn't stick. You want to brown your chicken in batches, so just add your chicken to the pan. You don't want to cook it through. Basically what we're just trying to do is give it some color, brown it a little bit. The chicken will cook thoroughly in the pressure canner while it's pressure canning, so don't worry about cooking it through. You don't want to overcook it. Once it's browned a little bit, I will transfer it over to the pot that I have waiting beside here. Once your chicken is all browned, I've transferred this over to the Dutch oven, and I'm going to add my sauce. You want to let the sauce simmer with the chicken for about 5 minutes, just to make sure everything is heated through, and that's it. You're going to notice the sauce is fairly thin. Now remember, when you're canning, you can't thicken your sauces with any kind of thickening agent like cornstarch or even clear gel. Clear gel, although approved for canning, is approved for water bath canning and not pressure canning. So if you want your sauce thicker, do it when you open your jar. It'll just take a minute, add a little cornstarch and water, and your sauce will be thicker. So let's add the sauce to the chicken. So now we'll just let this warm up and simmer for about 5 minutes. So my chicken has heated through. So now all I have to do is put them in the jars. I've got my canner heating up on the stove. My jars are warming up inside. So I'm going to go get my jars and fill them. I maybe have enough for 3 jars, maybe 4 jars, a small batch. If you want to make more, you can always easily double this recipe. So I'm going to go get my jars. I'm using 500 milliliter jars. Always make sure that when you're canning to check the jars, check the integrity of your jars to make sure you have no cracks, no chips, that they look in good shape. The last thing you want to do, especially if you're doing meat, is to have a jar break in your canner. That's always heartbreaking. So just make sure that they look good. Sometimes you can't tell, but sometimes if you run your fingers over the rim of the jar, you'll feel like a little nick in it if it's like chipped, and that could stop your jar from sealing. So sometimes it's good just to run your fingers over the rims to see if you feel any nicks. So now all we're going to do is fill our jars. We're going to leave 1 inch of head space. So just ladle in your chicken, your sauce inside your jar. I have ended up with 4 beautiful jars. You're going to want to just run a non-metallic debubbler in your chicken just to make sure that there are no bubbles inside of your jars. You are also going to wipe down your rims. Now remember, we've got meat in this, so we wipe our rims with vinegar to help break down any of the fat that would have gotten on the rims and prevent your jar from sealing. Then you're going to add your caps to your jars and put your rings on fingertip tight. And now let's transfer our jars over to the canner. You want to make sure when you're canning that all the parts of your canner are working well, nothing is clogged, all buttons are moving. Once you have all your jars in your canner, just put the cover on top of your canner and seal it. Increase your heat, and we're going to bring this to a good hard boil inside your canner. The button has come up, so now we're going to vent our pot for 10 minutes. We time 10 minutes. 10 minutes are up. We're going to put the weighted gauge, and now we're going to let the pot build pressure. I need to build my pot to 11 pounds of pressure because that's the altitude that I'm at. I'm at sea level. Be sure to know which altitude that you live in so you can adjust the pressure that you need to bring your pot to make sure that you have a safe product. So now we're going to build this to 11 pounds of pressure. We only start timing when we hit 11 pounds. I am almost at 11 pounds of pressure. The way I can tell is that my weight is starting to jiggle, but I do start reducing the heat before it hits 11, just a little bit so it doesn't boil too hard. I am at 11 pounds now, so now we time this for 75 minutes. So you want to always keep an eye on your dial, on the pressure gauge. You don't want it to boil past what you're supposed to be. So chances are you're going to need to reduce the heat as your pot is boiling for the first, I'd say 10 minutes, but always keep a close eye on your pot. Never leave it unattended. Once the 75 minutes is up, all you need to do is turn the heat off. And if you can, if your canner's not too heavy, just transfer it over to the other side of your stove. If it's too heavy, leave it where it is. So just make sure to let your pot depressurize on its own. Don't force it. All right, as you can see, I've moved my pot back over here. The reason why is because I had some unexpected company come over, my grandson. So once my pot was removed from the heat, I just left it there. So just a word of note, once you remove your pot from the heat, you don't have to automatically open it right away as soon as it depressurizes. You can leave it. If you're afraid to open it up too soon, leave it. It's better to leave it and then opening it too soon. So my pot is actually probably been now a couple of hours just kind of sitting there. So usually when it depressurizes, the button drops and the dial goes to 0, you remove your weighted gauge. Once you remove your weighted gauge, you got to leave it sitting for 10 minutes. But because it's been sitting there for a little bit longer than that, I can automatically remove the gauge and remove the cover safely. Now it's still really hot, so you always have to be careful. It takes a long time for all that heat to go. So it's still really hot, so you always be careful. Open the cover away from your face. And I can remove them from the pot right away. Usually you're gonna let them sit for 10 minutes with the cover off, but I can remove them right away since they've been already sitting there for a while. I think I've heard them all cap already, so they're good to go. The jars look absolutely beautiful. They're gorgeous red and nicely capped. Didn't lose any, there was no siphoning. I haven't lost any liquid from inside the bottle, so they look incredible. I can't wait to taste it. So there you go, bourbon chicken, as simple as that. Don't forget to write on top of your jar what it is that you have inside and the year that you canned it. It's easy to forget sometimes when we canned it, when we've got a lot of things going on, especially in the canning world. You gotta let your jars sit for 24 hours. Don't touch them. It can affect the seal of your jar, so leave them there for 24 hours. And once that 24 hours are up, you can remove the rings from your jar. Never store them with your rings on top. It could cause a false seal and have a very unsafe product. So remember to always remove your rings from the top of your jar. You can store them in a cool, dry, dark environment. They will last there at least a year and probably longer than that if you keep it that long. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy my content. If you do, don't be shy. Give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and be sure to check back again soon to see what other content I will have coming out.